welcome back. This is Dumb Test Slate. I'm still Kirk. This is still Dumb Test Slate. The Story Creative Podcast. And by that, I mean the podcast where I create stories. I'm starting a new story, or hopefully starting a new story with this one that involves mystique, magic, mysticism, and a giant liar. So let's get into it. Now time for some interactive fun. We're back. If you're a long-time listener, first off, thank you. There are not many of you, but thank you. For a while I was doing the Insecta Cole Monster of the Week series where our hero Cole had to face another monster every week. That was kind of created from Mesopotamian mythology or other mythologies, random mythology I would come up with. But I wanted to start a new season. So this is season 4. Welcome. With kind of a new one-off maybe idea. Not a long-running one. It'd be 1 or 2 episodes. One of the goals I wanted to achieve with this podcast is do at least 2 episodes per idea. So this is the first one for this idea that I am initially calling Cozener, Cozener, Cozener. Which is a synonym for a charlatan or something like that, a fake healer, because that's what my character is going to be based around for this story. I don't have a name for them yet. I've just been calling them Cozener. The main reason is I don't have a name for him yet, and plus his background. So the story is going to start out with my character, let's just say Cos for now, him being a member of a cult. He's not like the cult leader. He's not like a low member. He's a high-ranking member. I'm trying to decide if it was like he was born into the cult or he's been there most of his life, or he's just completely brainwashed to the point where this is all he knows, essentially. But since he's a high-ranking member, he kind of sees what's going on. He knows that the cult leader is, BS and fake, and that his position is kind of this fake healer, fake charlatan, that basically helps to brainwash other people, essentially to show that that he himself has these amazing healing powers, or the cult leader does. But he's like this. He's the medicine man healer, but he's a fake. He knows he's a fake. He's putting on a show, and he's part of like. I'm setting it in present time now, since there's like social media and all that stuff in the internet, where he's partially the face. There's the cult leader, but he's like the medicine man healer, the fake shaman, the charlatan, essentially. And he has, a online presence for this cult that basically brings people in, showing them his healing powers, or the healing powers that he mastered from the cult leader or this cult or something like that. And he brings people in. So the story starts with him in this cult. He's like he's not brainwashed. He's been in this cult his life, but he makes a lot of money from it or something like that. He's stuck in it. He knows he's fake, but this is kind of the life he's living. Or he doesn't want to get away from. Maybe I'm still trying to figure out the character. Okay, this is the baseline for the story. I'll figure out more. Okay, so it starts out with him in this cult. You kind of get the baseline, like I said, for what his position is, and that it is a cult. He's a fake healer. He's a fake shaman. And the cult's compound gets raided by the FBI or something like that to shut it down. And, chaos is happening. Everything is going crazy. The cult leader, who's the true fake, is trying to leave and, escape with the money and all that stuff because he's been doing illegal activities or whatever. And people are getting arrested, mainly, the head members, the high-ranking members of the cult, which is part of my character, Cozener. And he's like trying to escape, and then he gets grabbed and like pulled into this, big, huge SUV with blacked out windows and all this stuff. And you think he's been arrested by the FBI or whoever, CIA or whatever agency is arresting these, cult members and shutting it down. But he can't see what's going on. There's so much craziness. He's like maybe bag over the head or blindfolded or something like that, or he's hit in the head or something. Something happens where he's out of it and he doesn't know where he actually is. But he awakes a little while later, and you see that he wasn't arrested. He was kidnapped. and he was kidnapped by the dictator of some random country, some random foreign country. I'll say, I have no idea where it's going to be. If it's going to be like an island country or a desert country, the typical kind of country that has a dictator. Not like this country who has a wannabe. Okay. Yeah, he realized that he's not captured by the police or the FBI or anything like that, which he always expected was coming. Like the top leadership of this cult always talked about it because they know they were taking people's money or whatever they were doing that was illegal. They were always discussing like if it would happen, do this and do this. But since chaos ensued, nothing went to plan, and then he realized he's been taken by this dictator. And this dictator who's happened to see all of these fake like marketing material from the cult showing my character Cozener as this healer and this shaman mystic healer that can save people from cancer and all this stuff the cult was lying about. The dictator, who's a crazy person, you find out, saw this and believed it, because you find out the dictator is sick and supposedly dying, but doesn't believe in traditional medicine. They set up the dictator and their, crazy government set up this whole raid on the cult to kidnap my character Cozener and bring him back to this country to heal the dictator. My character Cozener was kind of like, you find out that he was done with the cult life. He didn't want to be part of this cult. He didn't want to be misleading people and all this stuff. He wanted to escape, but didn't really know how, because he's kind of, the face of this cult, and people know him for being a shaman and a fake. He couldn't really come out and say he was. He ended up in this weird foreign country, and the dictator says, you need to heal me because you have healing powers, or you have, magic or something like that. And he goes to tell the dictator that he's not an actual shaman. He wants to tell the dictator that, but the dictator gives him an ultimatum and says, if you don't heal me, I'll kill you. And so my character is now in this predicament where they think this crazy dictator thinks he's a real healer, which he really isn't. He's a fake, a charlatan. And to keep himself alive, he has to pretend to heal this crazy dictator that will kill him if he dies. So that's like the baseline of the story. That's like the setup and the background of the story. Going way back to like when I was setting up these stories, I was reading the book Save the Cat about like script writing and all that stuff. I still have the goal of actually writing a script. I haven't fulfilled that yet. I still want to do that. Hang on. There's a dog going crazy. Sorry, that was a crazy dog in the background break. I try to keep them minimal, but you can never know with a crazy dog in the background. But like I was saying, my character Cozener is now in this new space where he was kind of struggling with knowing he was a charlatan and taking advantage of people who were, falling for this, fake ideology of this cult. But now he's thrown into this world where he can't be fake. He actually has to heal someone for the first time or he'll die. And probably with his crazy dictator, probably really a torturous death. So he's fearful of that. And then also he realizes the people in this dictator's kind of government and court kind of want to kill him too. So he's worried. So he has to basically stop that from happening. So he himself won't be killed if the dictator dies. It's kind of like a doomsday clock that the dictator has, that if like his heart stops beating, then my character Cozener is going to die too. So he has to stop people in, the dictator's court from killing him. He has to stop like rebels in the country he's in from killing him. He basically has to side with the devil and save him, keep him alive to keep himself alive. So he's kind of thrust in this karma switch where he's going from pretending to save people and being, a fake charlatan to actually being a healer. And he has to survive all of that, keeping himself alive. And you see the twist or the growth of this character going from being fake to actually being real in his character growth. Like I was saying earlier before my crazy dog in the background break, early on in the show, I was reading the book Save the Cat, the script writing book Save the Cat, to go along with creating these stories. And one of the earliest things you have to do for a character to show the audience that they're like the character that you want to be the hero, your hero of the story. Is they need to save the cat. So I actually thought of a save the cat moment. I'm glad I remembered that. I need to go back and read that book again. But my character Cozener, he's a charlatan. He's part of this fake cult, and well, it's a real cult book. Basically lying to people and misleading him that he's a healer. But you see him kind of his save the cat moment is when he's still in the cult, and I don't know if it'll be through a flashback or earlier on. The beginning of the story where he is still physically in the cult's still going on before it's raided, that he actually does save people, not through mysticism or being a shaman or anything like that, but he like helps people. You read all these things about or hear or see things about cult where people are being starved and all that stuff, and you see him kind of being kind to the people or giving them reality checks or saving people or helping them out, giving them food. So you'll hear all this stuff about people in cults being starved. That's part of like the brainwashing and all this stuff. There's either like there's more stuff I want to go there. That might be like a dark comedy thing of him accidentally not making the Kool-Aid correctly. I don't know if this is going to be a dark comedy, because I've been trying to find like references and examples of this story to look at. It's hard to Google. Number one, it's hard to Google comedies about cults, because I want this to be a comedy, like maybe a dark comedy or a comedy with dramatic elements. This is one of my favorite movie genres, a comedy with dramatic elements. This is going to be, going back to Save the Cat, a hero story. You see my character at a low point. He's kind of the bad guy, but you want him to succeed as the hero, to kind of save himself or to maybe save this foreign country from a bad dictator. Who knows? But you see the growth of this character. Okay, sorry, that was a lost train of thought. I was saying, it's hard to look up references for this movie because I was trying to Google comedies about cults or comedies with cult themes, and all they kept bringing back was like cult comedies. It's a weird word, but most of the things I was finding were like just documentaries about cults, and there's a lot of like documentaries and real world stuff about cults, and I don't want to take too much stuff from that because the story is kind of him in the cult is the setup. That's how you see their character, you see their background, and it jumps to them being in this foreign country. I have way too many like real world examples to pull from this, because it kind of, I'm going to jump around on this. If you're a long time listener, you know this. This is one of the ideas I've been wanting to do forever, but it's like my biggest fears of going head first and getting really excited and doing all this stuff about creating an idea and then realizing that, oh yeah, it's been done many times in many ways better before. Like I've had this idea in my head of like the person, they're a charlatan, they're faking all this stuff, but then they're thrown in this scenario where they have to be real. And there's a couple things I've seen that's like that idea. I feel like it's been done before, but I have to get over this fear. And there's good reminders. This is a podcast I listen to called What Went Wrong, about making movies and all the backstory of how hard it is to make movies. And there was this, I forgot which movie they were talking about, but one of the hosts had a great reminder for me, like inadvertently, that like, I forgot what movie they were talking about making. The person who wanted to make it had this fear that it's been done before, but then they said this line that don't be afraid to do something that's already been done. Just know that what you want to do, don't copy, of course, don't copy something that's already been done, but don't let that fear stop you from being creative or creating something new or something slightly different. Go ahead first. I mean, they probably said that much better, but this is in my head how I took it, because I seriously feel like this idea came from me seeing some movie in the early 80s and 90s that just like subconsciously that stuck in my brain that I totally forgot about. But here are the to watch list that I have to give me more reference and background and inspiration for this story. First is Treasure Planet, the animated movie that I can't remember if I've seen. But of course, it's like, a pirate story set in space where a pirate has to go good or something like that. The Brothers Grimm, that's kind of this, but it does have supernatural elements. My story isn't going to have supernatural elements. That story is about, brothers who put on this fake show with fake, supernatural elements, and something supernatural really happens. They have to save a town. Man on the Moon, especially the ending scene where Andy Kaufman goes to like this retreat where because he has cancer and he thinks that there's healers actually there, but they're kind of faking it. It's like they pull a fake piece of chicken out of someone and they wash it away with blood, and he realizes that he's been faked at the end of the movie. Spoilers. Ishtar, which because it's one of those movies from the 80s that I feel like I've seen, and this is where the idea comes from, but I'm going to rewatch that. Kimmy Schmidt, the show Kimmy Schmidt, I forgot the full name of it, but like her character was in one of these like cults where they were being held underground. They didn't know what year it was and all this stuff. They thought the world had ended. Because that's the start of it, and it's a comedy, and it's also a really good show. I need to finish watching that. Also Leap of Faith, which is like one of those where a fake healer gets stuck in a small town. But this one isn't too similar to my story. A Steve Martin movie that seems like, I don't think I remember seeing it, but it's probably a really funny movie from, I think, the early 90s. It's like one of those where someone fake gets caught in a small town and they have to either prove themselves or be exposed as being like, he's like a fake healer, they're one of those fake televangelists and like that. But even if it's not inspiration, it just seems, it's a Steve Martin movie. Can't go wrong with a Steve Martin movie. Yeah, I think those are the only real movies I have so far. Of course, hopefully I'll be working on this a lot more. Oh, also Trading Spaces, Billy Ray Valentine, like how he was a con man. That's the other thing, like the con man gets thrown into a real situation. I feel like that's been done before, another fear I have, but this is kind of the thing where like my character Cozener wasn't the main con man. He wasn't like the leader of the cult, but he knew what he was doing was wrong, and he gets thrown in a real life situation where he has real life consequences. He has to save the day. Oda Mae Brown's character in Ghost. The Three Kings movie, because I think I remember watching that movie where they go to steal Saddam Hussein's gold and they actually have to help out this poor town or people being held hostage. For some reason, I wrote Dr. Wallace H. Graham, which is a real life story. I don't remember what that was. But yeah. Also, these were like two separate ideas I had. One of the original ideas I had was like an accidental cult leader. It was kind of this story I was kicking around of like accidental devil or something like that, but like a dark comedy. But I combined it with this one, a con man or a charlatan being thrown in a real situation. And it turns out it's a hero story. But I think that's all I have for this one so far. I really just wanted to get this out there because it's the end of November, and that means I need to do some holiday episodes, at least one. Just like in October, I did my spooky episodes. I think I did only do 2, but I need to do at least one holiday Hallmark-esque Lifetime holiday movie episode of this where I try to come up with a story. It was going to be holiday themed, but I wanted to get this episode out, start season 4 before I do that. You know how in sitcoms you have your special holiday episodes where Santa's suddenly all real. It's going to be one of those. So hopefully I'll be doing that next because December is right around the corner. But I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening. I'm going to at least do another episode of this where I kind of build it out more with more background, more character stories, more side characters, an actual name for my character. But yeah, thanks for listening. This is still Dumb Test Late, the story creative podcast where I create stories on this podcast. I'm still Kirk. You're still you. Be great to yourself. Be great to others. Love one another. Don't forget to be creative. Bye.